It's getting dark out here. Once upon a time, across every inhabited world, across the universe, there was a dream. A dream to tame the brightly dotted realms above. A dream to reach new heights, to reach advancements beyond imagination, with discoveries and treasures lusted of each traveler in the stars. Many civilizations had gained the chance to grasp this stage and built mighty empires with stories that could have crowded even the largest of libraries. From destined heroes to mighty conquerors, the galaxies of the universe were truly a place where minds could relish in awe. Now, we live beyond that age. The swirling bastions of lights have drifted afar from each other's gaze, with no company in the flatlines soon to ensue up the suns. Empires have delved into mere mythology, and life has become too far off to be considered a rarity. We may be the last sentience in the entire universe as the darkness spreads in every sight. So, as we wait for this old expanse's inevitable end, will you please fucking take your move, Scott? Dave exclaimed, as his humanoid avatar struggled to refrain from kicking his shiny metal arse. His android companion continued to ponder at the ancient pieces armed on the wooded, checkered board, observing each crack, each tiny splinter upon them. They could have just used a digital program, but the software had already deteriorated beyond repair. "I'm calculating my strategy," he stated to the AI. "Calculating your fucking... We've been playing for 5 hours already. How are you? Possibly the pinnacle of what's left of robot kind, still calculating a shitting chess move. This is a game of patience, is it not? Scott, just make a fucking move," he sighed, moving one of his black pawns forward 2 spaces. Happy. Finally. Christ, the humans could have coded a better chess player than you before they even colonized their bloody moon. Dave took his turn, also moving one of his pawns 2 spaces forward. "Have you started to malfunction or something?" Krivik technology is incapable of malfunction in any form. Maybe the Krivik bollocked it up with you, then. Scott took offense, though he expressed about as much emotion as a fruit salad. "I could say the same about you. Your behavior still remains rash after the annoyance I have seemed to have inflicted upon you. That's different." "How is it different?" "It was intentional. We were programmed like the..." "Look, doesn't matter. Can we continue with the game, please?" "If that is what you wish." Silence arose, not long after, with the exception of the landing of each move. Every day it had been like this. Every day for the past. Well, they already lost count. It could have been trillions of years. It could be quadrillions. They never actually bothered to keep track of time anymore. "Why is it always chess?" Dave asked, moving a knight. "It is the only game we have," Scott said. That was never really the android's name, and the AI didn't know why he picked it. "We could do cards, more variety in a deck." Scott took Dave's knight with a bishop. "There are only 50 cards, not the required 50T. It doesn't matter, doesn't ruin anything. On the contrary, if you want to do chess, just say it. I want to do chess." "There we go." Silence came back again. More moves, more pieces confiscated by each side. It was all more rhythmical, staged, and Dave was bored. "Did you fix the music player? I did not have time." "You have all the time in the world. There's miles of room for procrastination." "I do not procrastinate. I have simply prioritized other things." "Playing on a wooden board with a big blue smurf." Scott said nothing and pushed his rook. "Check. I could have been listening to D. Vant or Freddie Mercury in that time, mate." That is physically improbable considering the circumstances. You know, you'd think with all this time together, you would figure out whenever I'm being sarcastic. B number. You're denser than a black hole after a Chinese buffet. Would a buffet be minimal as an addition to a black hole? Dave didn't say anything for a few seconds. It's still dense either way. Scott made no further remarks. He continued to await Dave's move. Another couple minutes of quiet, of more shuffling. Dave suddenly asked, "Whatever happened to that other guy? The purple one? Do you not remember her?" "No, seems I don't. I remember her being down the corridor at some point. Everything else is just... I want to say my memory's corrupted, but... yeah. Number... well, she died." "No shit, Sherlock. Do you mind filling in the gaps?" "Her name was Sivaraman Sara. Bit mouthy, but okay. She lived with us for several years, served with the maintenance. Now I remember, the translator didn't work on her, did it?" "No, it did not. I was coerced to learn her language. I only remember the curse words. I think they were curse words. How did she go?" "She stole one of the escape pods and left." "Oh," Dave said. "Did she leave a note or anything?" "My assumption was that she simply suffered a psychological toll. Any rational behavior ceased." "How'd you figure out she died?" "The outcome was obvious. No empirical evidence was needed." "All right, Bleeko." Dave tried to remember where he was with the game. Before asking, "Do you, I don't know, miss your people?" Scott glared up. "Miss them? As in you wish they were here now?" "I do not have the flaw of emotions, the flaw of wanting." "Day, don't call it a flaw. Logically, the notion of an artificial being possessing organic impulses goes against the principle of..." "Shut up, please. Just don't." Dave made a move. "Check. Your go." Scott analyzed. He moved a knight to an odd position. "Do you miss your creators?" "Yes." "No." "Probably. It's like being married." "What does an organic breeding ritual have to do with your response?" "When you've made a commitment to someone for so long, you'll see just about everything with them. You'll see their best moments, the things you can actually be happy for. Then there's all the other stuff. Maybe something that frustrates you a lot, and you have to deal with that every day. But you still love them through all of it. Or maybe you get bored. I think I got bored. Would you wish they were still here?" "They probably are still here. Somewhere. I like to think that. Uploaded to a digital paradise, ascended to some other plane of existence. I don't want to think that it's just me now. Do you want me to activate the simulations again?" Dave emulated a sigh. "It's not real anyways. I'll know every move of every person in there. That was the fun thing living back home. You never knew what was going to happen. Your creators sounded abhorrent. Some were sweet. Some were, well, they were people. If everything was perfect, then there's not really much point, is there? Mine were quite dissimilar. Intellectual advancement was the Krivik goal. We built wonders, solved the mysteries of the cosmos. We did that as long as we could. We thought entropy would not weave its way into us." Dave laughed. "Your creators sounded completely arrogant. Some truth to the notion, I suppose. It seems both our civilizations had the illusion of permanence, and now it survives through you." "What do you mean? Do you miss your creators because of that sense of security?" "Suppose so. I've been stationed from ship to ship, planet to planet, so caught up with everything else. There was an old TV show, comedy, had all these people from different parts of time stuck together in a house. They weren't able to move on. Well, some could, others couldn't. They could only bicker and hate each other unless someone new arrived. Is it in your files? Just the Wikipedia page. Pages, actually. It's been remade so many times. Dave transferred the data to the Android. They glared too far back. That's what made the jokes, though. Even so, in general, how often did they look ahead? Visionaries were often pompous bastards. It never ended well for them or the people around them. Everyone else who kept thinking ahead often had to get a mental health diagnosis. Looking ahead can provide many advantages. Optimism can invoke many things in a civilization. They can conceive many advantages. Another piece was moved. Check. How is that check? You're nowhere near my king. Search up the Andromeda maneuver. Dave groaned. That got removed. It doesn't count. Correction. It was removed for tournaments only. Casual matches are exempt, however. 1,000,000 calculations were made in Dave's processor. He came up with one appropriate conclusion. You're a cunt. Dave moved his king. Scott made another move. Your impulse is further exposing the weakness in your form, he said. May I advise you run a diagnostic? Are you taunting me? Is that a taunt, mate? You are growing anger. Not anger, no. Is it weird to say I'm a bit proud? I have no opinions on the subject. You are the only emotive being here. That judgment is left up to you. Besides, perhaps you should think of looking ahead more. Dave groaned, almost whining like a child. Eventually, his avatar glared out the window. It was just black. What do you think it'll look like when the time comes? I cannot say. There may be a tear. There may be another great explosion. You should know all the theories. Think we'll live long enough to see it. Do you want to live long enough to see it? Scott paused. Probably the first time in millennia he had to think about saying something. It seems more like you are inquiring with yourself, Dave, not me. Yeah, there's a reason I haven't banished you to bloody Neil Armstrong's locker. I'd be a loon if I was asking myself these questions constantly. I'm a maintenance bot, not your counselor. Done a good job maintaining things, haven't you? Dave said sarcastically. You are still here, Dave. Sure, but I'm not exactly the center of this ship, am I? We could have booted up Risk, or Monopoly, or anything else, other than chess for the past. However long. 900,400. Stop reminding me of the numbers. You know, I hate that. Noted. Dave nearly moved a bishop before deciding to take his queen with a rook. The Krivik. Did you figure out what happened to them? I was there when the empire collapsed. Not talking about politics. Did any of them try to make it? Their presence remained for eons more. They dwindled, of course. I never logged their fate. I do not plan to. You can't, or you don't want to. Where is there to search? The first one. Gotcha. When was the last time you saw the humans? You should already know the answer to that. We can continue the game in quiet, if you wish. Fine, Dave sighed. Humans I grew up with died out a couple thousand years after they got to space. Didn't get killed or anything, just shagged. They shagged a lot, to the point there weren't any proper Homo sapiens left. Their DNA was mixed in with half of everyone genetically compatible across 867 galaxies. Last time I checked, at least. Your creators lived on through their descendants. That must count. Suppose so. Yeah. Dave thought for a moment. His avatar glitched slightly. Last conversation I had with a human. By that point, they'd grown. I don't know. I don't think I remember anymore. We were talking about cake. Cake. Don't you know what? It's something filled with sugar. It's a dessert, basically. People had them birthdays up to a point. I don't know why they stopped it. That was your last conversation with a human. Humanish, technically speaking. I worked with her mum at a university. Oh God, it's been a while since I thought of her. Myrna. Myrna? Elaborate. Huh. Guess I've brought up something new for a change. Well, Myrna was a professor in history. Hang on, no. Physics. Chemistry? It was something that made her students cry, I know that. She taught for several hundred years. I'd often recommend books, spoke about myself. No change there. I swear, you have like a secret emotion chip in you somewhere. You may scan my structure and will find no such thing. Okay, so, as I was saying, I knew Myrna. I knew her family well. Her daughters went on to do whatever. It paid for a lot of rubbish. Their youngest, we were talking about cake. She wanted to be a baker. I gave her tips from everywhere across history. It seems her whole family were quite prideful. A dynasty such as that would have thrived in Krivik society. Oh, they were a bunch of narcissistic shits. I was only ever with them 'cause of work. If I knew someone would ask me, then what was the last conversation I would had with a human? I'd have picked the neighbors. Didn't even have to be something long. Just a quick, "Hi, when are you replacing the fence? Your dog keeps running into their garden. How about you? What was your last conversation?" A debrief on a cargo manifest. It was myself and a supervisor. This was not an imperial vessel. I was one of the few androids remaining by that point. We were part of a caravan that tried to trade between the stars. Anything special about it? Or were it just numbers? Just numbers. 70 crates of manya berries, 92 crates of pipes, 103 crates of alcoholic beverages. The ship was attacked. I awoke long after. Not really a point to put in the scrapbook then, is it? If you refer for a means of sentimentality, then by your definitions, I would not suggest so. Well, yeah, that's what I just, moving on then. I just took your queen. What are you going to do about it? Scott moved a knight. Check. Dave's avatar looked up and down, from Scott's face to the board itself. You're a bastard. He moved his king again. Scott checked him again. This went on for a bit until Dave dumped a knight in the way. He was left hopeless after a few more moves until they managed to reach an odd stalemate. How many times have we had these conversations? Plenty of times. How often are they the same? They are nearly identical in topic each time. And you just play along. I know you've heard all my rambles. I know I've asked you the same thing over and over again. Dave's avatar glared out back into the black. Will you ever get bored of me, Scott? I cannot experience boredom. I know, but just how long do I have before I reset? 8 minutes, 35 seconds. Dave looked back to the board. We could have been at this for another hour. The game will continue. You may not remember, but the strategies may be there. Nothing will change about you at your core, Dave. How many times have I reset? You stated earlier that you hated those kind of numbers. The me you know right now will be dead in 8 minutes. I might as well. Scott calculated for a couple seconds. 19 to the power of 1372. You can shut up now. I get the point. The resets are happening faster, you know. It won't make much difference to me. What's there to remember now? A few jokes. Scott looked up, his yellow eye staring into the faceless blue of Dave's avatar. The game, of course. They continued to play. The last 8 minutes often remained, with the two staring. At some point, Scott flicked over his own kin. "You didn't have to do that. Consider it a gift." Scott checked the time. 30 seconds. "You could have let it phase into the next me, you know. Maybe you could finally get out another bow game for his sanity, at least. You don't have long left." Dave smiled. "Well, I guess I'll see you in a bit, mate." His avatar faded. It returned. Scott reset the board. Dave made the first move. Scott analyzed for T, next 5 hour. Dave got pissed off. Author's name and the links to the original text in the description. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to stay with us.